Hey, thanks for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Our guest today is Frank Calderon for the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Welcome, and thank you for being here, Frank.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
So we're going to talk about illegal dumping. It's a big challenge, not just for us here in Miami-Dade, but throughout the country. So let's talk about the difference between sort of littering.
Basically, the simplest way to put it is littering is a much smaller scale. Littering can be a cigarette butt, can be a chewing gum or bubble gum wrapper, something as simple as that. It could be a little bit more than that. It could be the fast food that you ate in your car and you throw it out, which unfortunately we see quite a bit of that here. Whereas illegal dumping, now you're talking about the dumping, pieces of fencing, old furniture, bigger items.
And we know that one, it's illegal, all right?
Yes.
And you tell us about the cameras that you have set up, so people who think they're going to get away with it.
Oh yeah, we have hidden cameras in various locations. Some of them are fixed, but not all of them are fixed. Some of them are mobile, so there may not be one there today. There may be one there tomorrow, or even tonight. We have some that we actually live stream basically, and they have an enforcement officer who sits there and watches multiple monitors to see if anything's going on, and if they see something going on, they will dispatch the local code enforcement officer to go out there and check it out.
And we know when there's a crime in a neighborhood, frequently the police go and they ask for people's the homes or business around, can we look at your videos? So they're not just the county's looking at them, but lots of other people are looking at them.
That's open, yeah, that's an option too.
And people think that maybe they're going to get away with it, but the reality is you may get away with it once or twice, but at some point you're going to get caught.
Yeah.
And if you happen to remember, the folks that got big fines, all right, in the last 6 months from the county, they must have been multiple offenders in order for a big fine or a commercial.
Typically, yes. The bigger fines go to commercial.
And if I remember right, it was $450,000 was collected from these bad guys, the people that were illegal dumping.
That might be the total. I don't think that we got that from any one individual.
Yeah. It was total in the 6 month period.
That kind of sounds about right.
And so in some cases that could have been a enforcement actually seeing it or on camera.
Yes.
And then they go get them.
Yes.
And just to make people aware, I understand the school buses also now have cameras on it, and then the school sites, they have cameras on it.
Yep.
So if you're going to dump stuff, you're going to get caught.
It's getting harder to do it without getting caught, that's for sure.
And let's talk about it down in unincorporated Dade County in the Homestead area, or not in the city per se, but in unincorporated, where there's like a home every 10 acres or so. It seems to be a perfect place for the bad guys to dump their stuff.
Unfortunately, yes.
And if it goes onto one of the landowners' property, they are responsible for it.
Unfortunately, yes.
And even if you know, and they know, and the county knows, it's not our stuff, we didn't do it, you still have to do it. If somebody puts graffiti on your building, on a commercial building, it doesn't matter who did it, you have to take care of it. So it's like that.
Same principle, yeah.
So what are some of the things, again, that the county can do to try to lessen the amount of people? Is that the word, lessen the amount? So the fewer people illegal dumping.
Well, enforcement is one thing. Education is another thing. Enforcement's a big one. The big stick as far as tactics go, and we hope it serves as a deterrent whenever we put out any cases of people getting caught. And we should note, you haven't mentioned this yet, but it's not just a matter of getting caught and maybe getting hit with a fine. You can actually get arrested. You can actually go, yes, handcuffs put on you. You can actually go in the back of the police car with the handcuffs on you. I like to joke and say that non-county personnel are not allowed to ride in county vehicles, which is true. It's a rule. If you don't work for the county, you're not allowed to ride in a county vehicle, with two exceptions: buses and police cars. You don't want to be in a police car, at least not in the back seat. So yeah, you can get arrested. You can get arrested.
Yeah, that would be, out of all the things to get arrested for, that would probably be one of the more embarrassing things.
Yeah.
And just for the people that are thinking about taking the stuff from their house and dumping it outside the street, if the county could come out to their house, and pick it up, all right, under the bulky waste, and if they've used up their 2 truckloads for that year, the county could still come out and they could pay for it. Right?
Yes.
So they may not know somebody else that could do it, but the county could do that.
Yes.
And no different if they're allowed 25 yards twice a year.
Correct.
So let's say it was 35. So you get the first 25 yards are on your thing, and you'd have to pay for the other part.
You could do it that way. If you have a second pickup, you can do it using the second pickup. What you can't do is the example you gave, 35 cubic yards. You can't say, oh, I still have 15 cubic yards, so another. Unfortunately, you can't do that. Once you've gone over, you do have the option of paying for it and saving the second pickup for later in the year, or just using the second pickup.
So if your truck was only 20 square yards, that's it. That's one truck.
That counts as one. Yes. Yes.
And again, let's talk about on the refrigerators and freezers. There's white appliances, if you will. The people can dump that, but we ask them to take the doors off.
Take the doors off to avoid tragedy. I remember when I was growing up, hearing in the news all the time, some kid would be missing. Nobody would figure out what happened. Then later they found out, sadly, that the kids in the neighborhood were playing hide and go seek, and one of the children thought that the refrigerator that was on the side of the road that was going to be disposed of was the perfect place to hide. And tragedy ensued after that, and you don't want that to happen. So that's why we told people take the doors off.
Okay, let's talk about in parks, county parks. Is that maintained by a different department than the solid waste?
That would be maintained by parks, yes.
By the parks department. So when people are dumping stuff stupidly in parks, all right, the county park department takes care of that.
Yes.
And that's really a tragedy when you're out there trying to enjoy stuff, and then somebody's paper cups are like floating all over the place, right? And it used to be a big problem with people smoking cigarettes and leaving that. Do you know if it's still an issue?
I haven't anecdotally heard of it. I guess, fewer people smoking nowadays, so you see less of it. I can tell you personally that when I was in the Army in the 80s, smoking was pretty common back then, and one of the things I never smoked. One of the things I absolutely hate, one of the duties I hated more than anything else, was in the morning after formation, where they'd have us all line up and pick up cigarette butts from our formation area, and I really hated that personally. But besides that, I haven't heard much about it, so I just imagine that it's probably a function of just fewer people in society smoking. Smoking being less acceptable in society than it used to be. Okay,
all right, and let's talk about if somebody sees that there's a pile of stuff on the side of the road. And typically, I suggest a pile will be there until somebody gets annoyed enough to do something. It could be a day, it could be a week, but it's pretty easy for somebody to report, hey, there's a dump, somebody's dumped the stuff there, all right? They're not in the act of doing it, but it's there. Well, how can they report that?
As you mentioned, if it's not in the act, if you come by and you see a pile, call 311. Now, one of the first things that's going to happen, the enforcement officer, they're going to send an enforcement officer to check it out, and they'll check against to see if there's a legitimate bulky waste pickup, because it could be. A bulky waste pickup, especially if it's in front of somebody's house that's pending. And if that's the case, then they'll just let it be. But if they find that it's legitimately illegal dumping, then they'll investigate. If it happens in progress, if you see the person dumping, don't go and confront them, because you don't know how they're going to react, and you don't want to get hurt or anything to happen. We tell people to call 911 because it is a crime. As I mentioned before, they can get arrested. Call the police at 911 and tell them that you're seeing it in progress. You're seeing, whatever. If you can describe the vehicle or the people involved, that would be very helpful to them.
So if it's on a public road on the side, they call 311. When it's not in somebody's home and in the public road, they can do that anonymously?
I think I'm not 100% sure. I think you can request to be anonymous when you call 311.
Right. And if somebody says, well, do you want to send us a picture of it? Somebody could take a picture of it, I think.
You could. I believe our app allows that. The MDC Solid Waste app lets you take a picture and show to see the pile and report it that way.
So you can get the app from Solid Waste, all right? And you can report it that way. They say upload any picture. So when the guy goes out, they go, oh, that's the pile.
Or they could go out there and the pile is grown. Who knows?
I do want to report, which I told you before. On the side of the road, there was a a stone. It was rock. It was about this big, and it was a one-way road, and it's easy enough to get that right wheel off the road, and it was only this far. I'm thinking somebody's going to hit that. Somebody's going to hit it, for sure. I reported it, all right, and they did eventually come and pick it up. I do want to add that they also on this road put no parking signs, right? Which I was really pleased, and they did this whole stretch, and I don't know quite why, but I'm happy because it really means that the county's paying attention to it, right? And on that particular road, looks like there's almost no litter on it now because they're paying attention, and that's really what it takes is a neighbor in a neighborhood to go to the county and say, hey, listen, there's a lot of litter over here, not necessarily dumping, and the county, if they do that, the county could send somebody by and they can figure out if they're going to go clean up the area, right?
Correct.
And can we talk about the TRCs, the trash and
Sure.
recycling centers? There's one near FIU, right? So tell us about the process and how somebody could take their own dump instead of dumping trash, instead of dumping it on the side of the road. Tell us that process.
Yes. So as long as you're a customer, and by that we mean that you receive service from us, like garbage. We pick up your garbage twice a week. The green cart with the county with the the county logo in white on the side. That means you're a customer. They will ask for a driver's license or a state ID to make sure that you are one of our customers. They match it against, they swipe it and it matches against our database of customers. And if you can bring the type of waste that you would put outside for bulky waste. You can bring old furniture, you can bring appliances, you could bring the lawn clippings. If you had a tree that you had to chop down in your yard, you can bring the remnants of it. That's those sort of things.
And most of the vehicles that wind up, there's typically mostly pickup trucks rather than
a lot of times, yeah, just because pickup trucks can hold stuff easier and you can dump the stuff easier out of it.
Wants to back right up to that sucker, they can put it down, get the grandson in there, and throw all this stuff in there.
There you go.
So it is a lot of fun to be able to do that. And can we talk about the pickup in the green carts? Typically, there's the green carts, and for the most part, they're in pretty good condition. But if somebody's cart is not in good condition, what can they do?
Sure, if it's damaged, just call 311. This is a question that I never understand. People say, "What do I do? My cart's damaged. I don't know what to do. It's cracked or whatever." Just call 311. It's damaged. They'll send somebody out. It might take a week or two. Something, I don't know the exact amount of time, and it depends on how busy they are, how backed up, how many requests they get, sort of something like that. But it doesn't take that long, and they'll come out and they will either, if they can repair it on the spot, they will. If they can't, they'll replace it.
And so most people in the green carts have pickup twice a week.
Yes.
And tell us what happens to that. They put in the green cart, it goes into the big truck, all right? What's the process now? They have it in the truck, and what happens to the garbage?
After that, many of our drivers are going to take it to a transfer station that's a little bit nearer than one of the landfills, and then from the transfer station, they fill up a big tractor trailer with the garbage, and then that goes to the landfill. We are shipping some of it out of the county. I believe, I don't know if it was a pilot that we were going to be doing with the train yet. I don't know where that is at the moment, but that was one possibility. But in any event, it's going to go out of the county some way, or some of it will go to one of our landfills. Okay,
so let's talk about things for sure for people should not dump into the green dumpsters. All right, I mean the green carts for sure. What stuff should absolutely not go into those?
Any free-flowing liquids, gravel, construction and demolition debris, like if you did a home improvement project, that shouldn't go in there. We would prefer that recyclable materials go in the blue recycling cart, but we always say, when in doubt, throw it out. So if you're not sure if it should go into recycling, it's better to put it in the garbage. Lithium batteries of any type, even the smallest type, that is one of the worst items. Whenever you see a garbage truck on fire anywhere in the country, whether it's here or somewhere else in the country, one of the biggest causes of garbage truck fires is lithium batteries.
Okay.
Oh yeah, even the small ones. Any type of munition we had a few years ago, any type of like old ammunition or anything, don't put it in the garbage.
And what about propane tanks? The kind of fire
No
up your-
propane tanks. No, no.
Your barbecue.
The smaller ones, like the barbecue size ones, or smaller, like the camping ones, those can be taken to our home chemical collection centers or the mobile events that we have. And we still have two. We have two in November, if I'm not mistaken, in different locations. And one of them's close to me, the Sunset Kendall TRC. On a Saturday. So if you can't go to one of our home chemical collection centers, fear not, we have mobile events. I don't know what the schedule, I don't know that they finished the schedule for next year, but I know that they plan to have some events next year as well. That makes it a little bit more convenient. Just wait until, if you can't go to one of the permanent centers, go to our website, look up the mobile events, and see when the nearest one to you comes, and then just you can take it there. But yeah, that's the proper place to dispose of those propane tanks.
And last week we had Jean Marie Massey here. Thank you very much for asking her to come over. Always a pleasure with her. And she had the whole table here with all the recyclable stuff that was out here. And people can find out about recycling, or they can find about the regular garbage pickup at Miami-Dade.
.gov/solid waste.
And there's videos on there, there's information on there. And for bulky waste pickup, if you go, you put in your address, it'll show a diagram of a house where it's going to
show you how many pickups you have left.
And you can set a date, all right? It's open, you sort of book it in there. And I think you tell us when they should start putting their garbage, the bulky waste out.
3 days or less from your appointment date. Please do not put it out before. That is another issue that our enforcement officers are, and maybe it's force of habit, because in the old days you put it out there, but the flip side of putting it out there immediately is it might not get picked up for as many as 10 days, so you'd have a nice brown spot in your grass out in front of your house. Not to mention the piles there for that many days, it decays, it looks unsightly. That's
and the bratons
part. Yeah, there's that. There's the temptation of the longer it sits out there, the more likely that people are going to illegally dump. That, which brings me to the point, even now with it's a much shorter time period, so that we avoid some of those things. But even if you have a bulky waste pile, you've legitimately scheduled it, you have it out there, you're following all the rules, and then you come home and find that somebody came by and dumped a bunch of stuff on top of it, call it into 311 right away. Then that way they won't count it against you.
Okay, and so again, there's a lot of ammunition from people with a lot of weapons that we have here. What specifically should people do with their old ammo?
That is a good question. I don't believe they take them at our home chemical collection centers. I would try to find one of a gun range in town. I know the county has one, Trailglades, out on 8th Street and 167th Avenue. I don't know if they'll take it, but they might at least know where you could dispose of that.
For sure, after you properly dispose of, because you never know
that somebody could get hurt.
With one of those. And we saw, unfortunately, what happened to these 4 or 5 guys who were putting fuel into the boat in Dania, where something ignited it and it blew up. Killed one person, injured 4 other people, all experienced people, but something went wrong. Went crazy on that. So here we are, almost Christmas time, all right? And we know that Thanksgiving time, people have the bones left. What do you want people to do with the big turkey thing?
That should go in the garbage.
Not in the recycling.
No, not in recycling. The big aluminum pans, aluminum's great, but unfortunately that does not go there. The only aluminum we can take in our recycling program in the blue recycling cart is aluminum cans. So if you have lots of soda and adult beverages, those containers can go in the, or you have the cranberry sauce in a can, that sort of thing, that can go in recycling.
So I know we discussed this before, but when we look at the soda cans and the plastic bottles, those used to be 2 or 3 or 4 times more stable. Now it's like we hope that it just stands up. Right? In the old days, if you could crunch the can, you were like, superpower. Now they're so flexible and they're so thin that stuff gets recycled almost immediately. The soda cans, how long does it take till more or less it's back on the market in some format?
Soda cans can take as little as 6 weeks before they're recycled into something new. Aluminum cans, one of the fastest things to recycle.
And what happens to the single-use water bottles? They go into, you recycle it, takes them, and what do they remake on that? Do they remake bottles?
They can, I believe they can remake bottles. and other hard plastic items, or hardish plastic items. But one of the things I found that they do a lot with it is actually make clothing and carpeting, or the fill for jackets, that sort of thing. They can spin it into like polyester, or they call it microfiber now, which sounds nicer than if you were around in the 70s, you remember polyester, and not a good connotation, but they can make microfiber. They can make clothing products out of it. They can I remember going to a Walmart not that long ago, and the vest that the employees wear, the back of it says this was made with I don't know how many plastic bottles. There were places a few years ago, I went on a school trip with my son to Chicago, and so they had some of the public garbage bins. They have metal container side, but they have like a plastic thingy on the outside to hold it, and they said that those things were made out of plastic bottles as well. So they can make a lot of different things out of plastic.
And a great reasons to recycle.
Yes.
So, and the blue carts, people think that it's the county, but you actually subcontract that out to another vendor.
Correct.
And if there's a problem with the blue carts, do you still go to 311 and report that?
Yes, same thing. If there's any damage or whatever, the cart lid is broken, or the wheels, or one of the wheels fell off or something like that, you can call 311.
And if somebody's looking for employment, where should with the county, where should they go?
miamidade.gov/jobs, JOBS.
When the county has opening for drivers for those trucks, they have to starting with the commercial.
Yes, CDL license, a commercial driver license.
And then you have a training program.
We have a training specific. They do want people that are experienced as drivers, that have some experience. It doesn't have to be extensive, but they'll train you specifically to the garbage truck, which is, different beast compared to most commercial trucks out there.
People think it's an easy job. It's not. How many stops a day when they're out do they make? More. They
have to stop at every house, and you do a typical route. It's about 1,000 plus. About 1,100. And I should note that it's right-hand drive. The trucks come with both, but when you're actually picking up, you're pretty much going to have to go right-hand drive, because you're going to have to see out of your mirror to see the arm go and pick up the carts. And that's another skill you also learn. You're using a joystick to have the arm come out and grab the cart. Again, they'll teach you all that, but yeah, that's a unique skill.
A day.
1,000 plus.
God, they must play havoc on your knees, and there's another one. And then in some areas, it's every 100 feet.
It depends. You were talking earlier about the red land. Be a lot of space between the houses there, yeah. So yeah. And
when the staffers have when they're working, when they get done with their route, they go back, they take the truck back to wherever it is, and then they go home.
Well, yeah, what happens typically is the trucks hold about half of a complete route, so they'll go to a transfer station, dump, and then go back out and continue. When they're done, they go to one of the yards that we have stationed throughout the county. I believe they're asked to fuel their vehicles before, so they're ready to go the next day.
So if it's about 1,000 stops, is that typically just one can, or what percentage have two?
Most of them have one. It's only a small percentage. I don't know the exact number, but it's just a small percentage with that.
So those trucks hold 500 cans. 500.
Roughly 500 to 600.
Green carts. That must smush it.
Compacted, yes.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
They get smushed like that. That's great. And as far as, again, getting back to the illegal dumping, what's the range on fines that somebody could be subjecting to?
The fines start at $250 plus a $10 fee, so $260, and they go up. I want to say that because now I'm like, I don't remember. About $2,500 is the highest fine you can get.
So the next time somebody's thinking about doing some illegal dumping, think about the embarrassment one of you could get arrested. It means physically taken into custody. Mm-hmm. Then you have to defend it, right? Which you gotta lose, all right? And then you're gonna have to minimum pay the fine, and the judge may even say, and you have to pay court costs too, because. So don't do it.
And your vehicle can get confiscated. And I should note that if it's at a high enough level, I think commercial, or if the amount, even if it's not commercial, if the amount is over a certain amount, and I don't remember how much it is, it can be considered a felony. So it's a felony arrest. And we're talking, I did the research a while back, and I remember for some reason 4 years sticks in my head. You're subject, realistically, if it's your first time, are they going to? Probably not, but you are potentially looking at 4 years in the big house.
So just don't
In the
dump.
big house.
If you don't know what to do, call
Potentially.
311, go to the website, figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Frank Calderon, thank you very much
Thanks for having
for
me.
being here. And again, happy holidays to you,
You too.
and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thanks. Again, folks, thank you for joining us. Remember, take care of yourselves and your family. Have a great